brought you the news. Printed the info, we gave you the clues. Owners' profits were always sky high. Changing market now threatens our lives. Post-literation, critical reading, dumbed down nation, signs of inbreeding. TV sucking ideas from our head. Public discourse just about dead. We'll ride the dinosaur. Yeah, ride the dinosaur. Good afternoon, Valley. My name is Eugene Driscoll of the Valley Independent Sentinel. Welcome to Navel Gazing, the Valley Indy podcast. If you were here Friday at about 10 a.m., I interviewed the Derby Finance Director, Brian Hall, to talk about an upcoming $6.5 million capital needs referendum that's coming up on Election Day, which I believe is November 4th. A big chunk of the proposed borrowing has to do with emergency service, things like fire trucks, apparatus, and an emergency radio system. So I thought for this sort of part two, we had the money guy on, and now we're going to have a couple of leaders from the fire department and storm ambulance rescue to talk about the need, why this is happening. My goal here isn't to be pro or con or to stir stuff up or anything like that. The idea here, the goal here, the wish here is it's built on the fact that this type of journalism is a community service, that an informed community is a stronger community. We just want to get the facts out there. So I'm going to introduce them one by one, right? Let me just find my applause because we're going to do applause because I have a cheap soundboard. I'll do it alphabetically. Ladies and gentlemen, making his debut appearance, I think, on the Valley Indy podcast is the chief of the Derby Fire Department, Mr. Thomas Briggs. Hey, Tom, how are you?
Good, Eugene. It's Biggs, not Briggs, though.
You know what? And I just developed that mental block within the last half hour because just before you joined the stream, I asked Mr. Leonard and Mr. Parker that. But all right, I'm going to give you your applause anyway, and I apologize for that.
It's okay. Everyone does it.
I know, but I should know better. And then also joining us today, if you're a fan of the Valley Indy or these podcasts, you definitely know him. He's been on multiple times before. He's the chief of the Derby Storm Rescue Ambulance Corps, whose name I always get wrong too. But here is Chief Thomas Leonard. Hello, Chief Leonard.
Good afternoon, everybody. How's everyone doing?
We're doing well. Thank you so much for coming. And then last but certainly not least, making a return appearance to Navel Gazing, the Valley Indy podcast, it's the commissioner of the Derby Fire Department, Mr. Gary Parker. Hi, Gary.
Hey, Eugene. How are you? Thanks for the opportunity for us to be here.
Yeah, it's definitely my pleasure. I'm a little nervous. You know, I have, of course, tremendous respect for the work that you men and the men and women of the emergency services do here in the city of Derby. I think one thing I should say right off the bat, it's a volunteer fire department. Right. These are volunteers, by and large. I think we forget that a lot. I know we don't always put it in our reporting. And sometimes I think, well, we should probably say volunteer in the title because I don't know if people realize that, just to lay that out there. And then in terms of, like I mentioned in my little intro here, and then I'll shut up, there is upcoming a $6.5 million capital needs referendum. This is a screenshot I took from a story I wrote on this. Here's what Derby is asking voters to approve. It's $3 million for 2 Derby Fire Department pumper trucks, $1.5 million for the rescue for a rescue truck for Storm Engine Company. Then you have $560,000 for 2 Department of Public Works trucks, $550,000 to replace the public safety radio system, $400,000 to replace the HVAC system at Derby Public Library, $358,000 to replace the chiller at Derby Middle School, and then $132,000 as contingency. So you can see from those lines that a bunch of these are related to emergency service, emergency responders, keeping the city safe. We'll start with you, Chief Leonard. You can tell us about what is the need for this new rescue truck for storm rescue.
Well, one of the needs is the age of the vehicle itself. It was built in 1994, so we're coming up on 31 years. It goes out on about 600 calls a year, and it's the calls it goes on are vary greatly. motor vehicle accidents, all types of rescues, trench rescue, confined space, rope rescue. It also does medical calls, something we're finding more and more with more folks moving into town and even into Shelton, is our ambulances are getting busier and busier. And while our ambulances are busy, we're utilizing the rescue truck on first responder medical calls. So we're basically looking to replace an aging piece of equipment. Last year, about $40,000 went into maintenance of that truck. Some of it I can attribute to Main Street. Some of it I can attribute to the age of the truck. And
how old is it? You might have said I was messing with the settings.
It was built in 1994. So what are we talking, 30, 31 years? So it's, it's seen its day. It's served us well. I mean, I have to say, I can't remember seeing a lot of pieces of apparatus last that long as in first line. Stuff like that gets that old, it becomes secondary pieces of apparatus as backup. We're still running this thing as, first line, ready to go. So it needs to go. It needs to be replaced. Some of the other things that come with that are upgrades in safety, safety for the firefighters, safety for the public. So it's another thing that we need to take into consideration. And realistically, recruiting and retention. There's nothing like bringing in a new member, having them stand there and look at this old truck with rust hanging off of it, and everybody complaining because they got to wait 10 minutes for the air to build up so it can pull out the door, and saying, what are we getting ourselves into here? So there's a lot that goes into this, but it's time. And if I was a member of the public, I would think I was, and again, they only know that when they call 911, somebody comes to help. But if you're looking at how long this truck has lasted, I think we paid $259,000 for it back in 1994. If you average that over 30 years, I think taxpayers got their money's worth out of it. But it is now time to replace it.
And then you had mentioned, I just wanted to interrupt you because you had mentioned, but what's it like now in terms of maintenance? How often are you bringing it into the shop to get worked on? And then how much longer, I'm sorry, go ahead and answer that.
Go ahead.
My next question was going to be, if let's say voters say no to this, what do you do then? And these would be the same questions I have for Chief Biggs and Commissioner Parker. Well,
that's going to be a good question, because the fallback, I don't really have an answer to that. We may have to. I mean, I remember when we lost the last rescue truck before this, it was to an accident. We borrowed a sea green yellow van from the Milford Fire Department and put what we could in that van. And when you're pulling up somewhere and you're going to look for equipment, you don't know whether you can't remember whether you had it on the truck or not, and trying to get at it is just another challenge. So the fallback position, I don't know that there's any real solid fallback position right now.
And I should tell people. Go ahead, Chief. I'm sorry.
What are we doing for maintenance? We're trying to stay on top of it with, it's kind of like every time a little cut or scratch shows up, we're putting a Band-Aid on it and hoping that it doesn't fall off. So that's kind of where we are. I mean, we have to thank the Tracys for the work they do, because they're great when we need that truck fixed. They're there, they're putting the pieces together. But now it's coming to the point where trying to find parts is impossible. I know
that old.
Jim Saldamarco was on eBay scouring for some parts for it not too long ago. So we're at that stage where it's not even just a case of trying to keep it going. It's a case of trying to figure out what to do with it.
Gotcha.
So that's why we're hoping that this is going to happen. And this has been a long process. We've been through, 2-3 administrations, and saying, listen, these things are getting older. They're getting older. They're costing us more money. And here we are. And I know the public is grumbling about it. And I live in town. I pay the same taxes everyone else does. I understand that. But, at some point in time, it's got to be done. Somebody's got to bite the bullet here and make it work. And that's for the safety of everyone here. We are not, I'm sure Commissioner Parker and Chief Biggs are not sitting here saying we're doing this for ourselves. We're doing this for the public. That's what we're here for, is to take care of people. And if we don't have the tools to take care of them, we're out of business, and that's a problem.
And let me bring in Chief Biggs. I had muted you there, Chief Biggs, only to cut down on the background noise a little bit. It wasn't personal. But
No, that's fine. I'm on lunch at work, so it's a little noisy around here.
No, that's fine. That's fine. And again, if you got to drop off, just go ahead and do so. And then just bringing it. I mean, one thing I didn't establish is that the fire department and storm rescue are they're the same but separate, because storm rescue is a nonprofit, independent of the city, although it does receive some funding from the city. So that's why we're having everybody on. And then in terms of the fire department trucks proper. $3 million for two Derby Fire Department pumper trucks. Is that correct? I thought one was a ladder truck, or is that right? It's two pumper trucks?
Yeah, two pumper trucks.
So what's explain what a pumper truck is, I guess. Let's just start with that basic info. Whoever wants to grab it.
Truck, we call an is the supplies of water and a hose to put out a fire. It has other uses too, like in car accidents. It does blocking. It carries speedy dry and personnel to all different types of calls. But its main focus would be at a fire is to pretty much put out the fire.
Which is important, right, Chief Commissioner Parker? I would say pumper trucks are important for your department.
Yes, they are, Eugene. In fact, very important for the citizens in many ways, including their property insurance. There's an organization called the ISO, Insurance Services Organization, and they rate fire departments all across the United States. The better the rating there, the lower the property. It has a positive effect on property insurance rates by lowering that by factors developed by the number. So it's extremely important.
And then Chief Leonard was saying that the rescue truck is a couple of generations old right now. How old are these two pumper trucks that need to be replaced, and what type of condition are they in right now?
So I'll take that if you like. We in 2019 when we started, as Tom said earlier, it's several administrations, and we started this process in 2019. We had 5 frontline apparatus, and that would have been 5 engines or pumper trucks and 1 ladder truck. In that time, around 2022, one truck was a 1992 Pierce. We took that one out of service because, as Tom said, they get to a point where you just can't get parts for them anymore. And it was not physically prudent, fiscally prudent to keep that one going. So we have 4 left, 2 on each side of town. And the 2 that would be replacing are, one was built in 1999 and the other one in 1996 and 1999.
1999 and 1996. Gotcha.
That's right.
And then Chief Biggs or Commissioner Parker, whoever can answer this. I mean, I've heard stories that the department's maintenance budget, I know this always comes up every single year in front of the tax board, and that's the area where prices are going up because these vehicles are so old. Is that correct? And do you have any idea how much you're spending on it?
Yeah, I'll pass the next one to Tom, but I know the numbers here only because they deal with it. Our operating our maintenance budget has gone from about $50,000 in 2021 to last year $130,000, and we've been over $100,000 for the last 3 years. So it's a lot of money.
And
like
you expect
like Tom says, well, we don't wait to fix things anymore. There used to be a time when not anything major, but sometimes there would be a loose door or something like that, and we may let that go to the next time the truck came in for whatever reason. Well, we don't do that anymore. We fix everything that we see when we find it, because we don't know when we're going to get new ones.
And then Chief Biggs, how long have you been the chief of the department?
Since January.
How often are you dealing with problematic trucks? How often? How much is it weighing on your mind every time you respond to a call?
I mean, it's huge. I know right now at the storms are having a problem with building air and keeping air in their trucks, so they're on a delayed response because they can't get the trucks out right away. They might be there, but like Chief Leonard said before, it takes time to build the air back up so they can physically move the trucks. Engine 13 was out of service for a month. 14's been out of service since the beginning of August. We're not sure, or middle of August. We're not sure when that's coming back. And they're all old trucks, so anything can break down at any point in time. You just don't know. You know what I mean? It's always weighing on my mind, at least.
And let me ask you, Chief, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but keep in mind I'm a moron. You said one is already out of service and has been out of service for a month, and is that one you're looking to replace?
No, Engine 14 is our second newest truck. It's a 2009.
Okay.
And we're replacing the engine in it.
Gotcha. Okay. So you said it's something that's always
overhauling it.
And how do you respond? And anybody can take this. Chief Leonard alluded to it for a moment. First of all, it's hard to get the news, as I was telling you, gentlemen, before we went live. It's very hard to get information out there. In the days of the Evening Sentinel, where everybody had one news source, are long gone, and it doesn't look like it's coming back. So we live in this world where everything's fractured, and it depends on what silo you're in and where you get your news from. It's very hard to reach the general population in a meaningful way. So some of the feedback that I see on Facebook, and I asked this of the finance director last week, people in Derby, where we all live, including myself, we just got hit with a mill rate increase not this past year, but the year before. We know that the city of Derby has been struggling with its finances for various reasons. They're in front of MFAC. There is this feeling like, we can't take it anymore. How would you respond to something like that, if anyone wants to grab that?
The city has bond debt currently, and that some of it is old. What's defined as old, and I'm not sure what Brian may have used as far as that goes. But as it comes on, it's like a revolving payment, say, for to oversimplify it. So the city bonds money, they borrows money on that bond, and then they pay that off over a period of time. And as that comes off, that opens up their capacity to borrow more money. And that's why we're going now with a $6.5 million bond issue, is because that's what Brian and his job as finance director is works with the finance people to determine this. They determine that the city is capable of borrowing that amount of money without a huge strain on the tax rate. And I'm not saying it won't go up, but it'll be I don't want to say minimal.
Well, I'll interrupt you because he was
too much.
He was pretty adamant on Friday, Brian Hall, the City of Derby finance director, saying that this borrowing it won't have a direct impact on the mill rate for the reasons that Commissioner Parker just explained, because it's going to be replacing debt that's coming off the books. So I was a little surprised to hear him actually say that, but he's like, no, I think we can manage this where it's not going to directly impact the mill rate.
There you go.
And of course, the caveat is you never know what's going to happen with the economy. And in the city of Derby, there's been some bad luck that's or I say bad luck that's contributed to these mill rate increases over the years. But they were just in front of MFAC. That's a third party, and they're kind of saying Derby is on the right track. They still have some issues with their audits, but they seem to be on the right track. But what if, another thing you see is, well, what if we wait, guys? What if we wait a couple of years? until the city is in a better financial place. Can't we do
Let me-
that?
I can jump in here. First thing I'll say is if we wait a couple years, the prices aren't going to be any less than they are now. They're probably going to go up even higher. I don't remember what the first estimates back in 2018 were when we were speccing out the rescue truck.
I
But
think they were
the
just
price
under a
was-
mil.
Yeah, the prices skyrocketed, and they're not going to go and they're not going to go down. The other thing we have to think about here is delivery time. We're not going to see these trucks for 2 years, maybe 3.
That's right.
And that's when we're going to have to start thinking about paying for them. So yeah, we're going to authorize the bond prices and the money, but we're not going to have to put it down or start making payments until we get the trucks. So that's off in the distance, unless for some godforsaken crazy reason, somebody decides they don't like what they have for a brand new truck and says send it back and give it to someone else. But there's going to be a real time lag between the day we sign the contracts and order them to the day they come in. Over in Shelton, I know they're getting 2 pumpers that they ordered 3.5 years ago. They're coming in December. They were supposed to already be in, and they're put back even further. So that has to do with the prices going up, the delivery times going up, and so that's why I think Brian's correct in saying that we can manage the debt because some of the things are not going to be something we can write a check for tomorrow and say, here's the check, let me take the police car, here's the check, let me take the air conditioning system. It's going to take time to get these things together and get them delivered. So that's what's going to give the city a way around financing these things because they're going to know what's coming and when to pay for it.
And I think Commissioner Parker touched upon this, but it's probably worth repeating. This wasn't something that was thought about and put together within the last 6 weeks, 6 months, even, I guess, 6 years. This is something that's been in the planning stages for a long time, but for various reasons, the city just couldn't pull the trigger on it because of everything we've read about the finances. Is that generally correct, Commissioner Parker?
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And yeah, we don't want to be looking backwards. We want to look forward. But one more point about if we don't buy this apparatus now, we have 2 other pieces in the fire department. The aerial ladder truck, which was manufactured in 2004, and our second engine pumper, which we're putting a new engine in now, that was manufactured in 2009. So not long. Let me put it this way: by 2034, just a little less than 10 years from now, we'll be looking to replace those other 2 pieces. And the aerial ladder, I mean, they're going now for between $2.5 and $3 million, and I'm sure they're not going to, as Tom said, they're not coming down. So the other pump, hopefully they stay somewhat in line, but who knows? And then again, it's a lead time of anywhere from 2 to 4 years to get them once you buy them. That's once you sign your name on the line. So there's some sense of urgency here with this, and there's a lot of sense of urgency for this group, and the next group. This hopefully the city is well prepared, and when that time comes. Gene, if I can I just bring up about the radio system as well?
Absolutely, yeah.
The emergency radio system. Similar to the fire trucks, our 2-way radio system on the fire department, which the ambulance corps runs on as well. It's the basis of it. The main base station is still analog, and to the point it's obsolete to the point that in a heavy and maybe not even a heavy rainstorm, any of these guys, other guys can vouch for this. It sounds like, you know, there's a frying pan coming out of the radio because it's the rain on the wires makes it crinkle, and you know it's just it's something that it's obsolete. It needs to be updated, and that's $550,000 for that is what that represents, and that's to replace. We have several locations with repeaters and that kind of thing. I'm not a radio guy, but it's a complicated system, and it will be all replaced and with fiber optic connectivity, new antennae, and all that. But yeah, it's well past its due date.
And Chief Biggs, sorry, there's some hammering in the back. I don't know if you can hear that or not. Chief Biggs, you're muted. He's a pro. Have you been on calls? I mean, you show up. You're the incident commander. What's it like to deal with the radio system in its current state?
It's one of those things that we never know when it's going to fail or not. So I got a phone call from our dispatch probably 3 or 4 months ago at 6:15 in the morning saying your radio system is completely dead. We had no radio system at all. Thankfully, the guy who takes care of our radio system from the department was able to go up and fix it very quickly. But you know, we could be operating at an incident and it just stopped working, and now we can't hear something that's going on or someone who needs help or any issues. So I mean, it weighs very greatly on my mind, at least, as it should everyone else's too.
And do you have any examples, Chief Biggs? That's the radio system. But in terms of those 2 pumper trucks that you want to replace, that's an important anecdote because I think people can relate with that when something, you know, you're trying to save lives and you can't talk to each other. Have you had any similar interests or incidents with the actual apparatus trying to respond to a fire? Have the problems cut down on response time at all?
Not yet. But I mean, if we keep having issues with maintenance, they could. Like Chief Leonard alluded to before, you know, Tracy's Garage has been very good to us fixing our vehicles and keeping them up and running. But, you know, they're old. We're having problems, you know, I don't want to say getting replacement parts yet, but things take time to be fixed. And, you know, more things keep breaking the more and more the older they get and the more we use them. It's going to come to a point when we just might not be able to fix them anymore.
I mean, Eugene, this equipment is not something that we can say, okay, we're going to call a timeout. In a couple months, we'll be back to do our job again. We have to provide those services. And if we can't talk to each other, that's a big problem. And even the PD is involved with this radio system because they're also, if I believe, Commissioner, the base station for the PD is at the same fire tower?
Yeah, I mean, they're going to be included in this too. That's You're absolutely right.
Yep. So I mean, if the system goes down, you know, we're all going to be standing there saying we can't talk to each other, and that's a big problem for us and for the public. So that's just another part of this thing that just has to be dealt with, like it or not. And that fire tower gets hit by lightning a lot. We were very lucky, I think, this summer because there weren't too many thunderstorms. But you know that does get hit a lot, and you know when you start getting some things like that, you're looking at equipment getting damaged. And now I know one person, Mark, who takes care of a lot of the radio stuff. He's on eBay looking for the parts, and you know, I don't know how you say to the public, well, we want to fix this, but we're waiting to find the right price on eBay.
A lot of the stuff too he's found is already refurbished and on its, you know, second or third lifestyle. So, you know, who knows how long that's going to last for. And that's not something we can, you know, it's like your microphone not working. It's something you rely on to do your job.
And I'm pretty much, those are all my questions. I mean, the only other question I had, but I still, you know, there's probably a million areas that we haven't touched upon. So I'm not saying we have to end, but I'm going to kind of throw it to you guys. But, you know, as the hammering goes on, in terms of and maybe this is personal opinion, but we're divided in so many ways, and there's almost like something tangible in the public, and maybe it's in Derby or beyond, where people are cost conscious, and I think there's a reflex to, or a knee jerk reflex to say no to a lot of things. What, if anything, or if this, I don't even know if you are allowed to, but what are you doing to kind of tell the public, to carry the message that, hey, our fire trucks are old, our radio system is wonky, to say the least. It sounds like a lot of money, but this is important to the future of Derby. How do you convince people?
Well, I think that today goes a long way as a first step, Eugene. And again, thank you for this opportunity. And, at least people have a place they can go to listen to this podcast if there's questions. In furtherance, we're putting together an information video, and that should be up online, hopefully. I want to say within the next couple of weeks. We have somebody that's doing it for free, as usual, and so we're kind of at his schedule, but he should be up in a week or two, and that kind of goes through specifics of all the apparatus and where they are and what the plan is to do with that particular apparatus, so at least people can get a visual. So, and I know that the city has a meeting scheduled later this month. I think we're all invited to it, and it's to put together a social media package, I guess, or plan to dump information on that, and word of mouth.
Okay, so that's good. There are things going.
I would think inviting the public to our firehouses, come on in and see what the truck looks like. It's one thing to complain about it, and realistically, I don't know of too many people who go by a firehouse and say, "Oh, I want to see what's in there." Let's try to get them inside. Let them take a look at the truck, take a look at the condition of it. That's the only way we're going to get that through. Social media, as Commissioner Parker said, the video. Those are the things we've got to do, and it's got to be word of mouth. Most people who live in the town should be very concerned with this, as Commissioner Parker said about the ISO rating. The fact that when there's an emergency, if a person needs an ambulance, they need the fire department, and the radio system doesn't work, that's not our problem anymore. It's their problem, and it's going to come back to us as being our problem for not doing our jobs. And we're just basically asking the public for the tools we need to do our jobs. That's all. And that's to keep them safe. I mean, we are a very, very busy little community. We have two major highways run right through the center of Derby. I don't know what the number of traffic pattern cars that go through Derby are anymore, but I remember years ago they were very high. 1 million gallons of gasoline go through Main Street on a weekly basis. All of this, if something goes sideways, the three guys here on the camera and a lot more are going to be the ones that are standing there saying, we got to do something about this. And if we don't have the tools, it's going to be a problem. I mean, we're just asking the public, give us what we need to do our jobs. That's all.
Chief Biggs, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, I know, I've talked to multiple people who are running for office, current administration, and people running on the opposing ticket. And I told them, like, you got to get out and when you're campaigning and talk to the public about it too. Tell them how important it is to replace the trucks. As important it is for the air conditioner, the police cars, everything for public, everything on the list. It's all extremely important, and and they have to get out in front of it. We talked about possibly going door to door and ourselves and expressing how important it is to the public that we pass this referendum so we can get everything we need. And it's unfortunate that it got this far because we started working on it so long ago, but with COVID and I'm not going to sit here and point fingers at different people, different problems with different administrations. Well, this is the boat we're in now. And I know you had asked before, what the contingency plans are, and like Chief Leonard said, I don't really know if there is. You know, if this doesn't pass, we might have to buy one piece of apparatus and then wait 3 or 4 years for it to come in, then go for another one. And that could be, a 9 to 12 year process. By that time, we're, going to need to replace probably both ambulances, maybe once or twice. The ladder truck, one of the other engines will probably be up for replacement too. It's a vicious cycle if this doesn't go through.
Okay. Commissioner Parker, is there anything else you wanted to add? I think, Chief Biggs, you were saying that you weren't able to hear Commissioner Parker. Hopefully that's just between you and him. I don't know. But I think go ahead.
I know. I'm pretty sure
I
you
get
guys
that
can
a
hear
lot.
him, and that's all that matters. I pretty much know what he was saying, but
Okay. And I was trying to. I'm sorry.
I do have to jump off. I got to get back to work. But thank
All
you
right,
very
go
much,
ahead.
Eugene. Bye bye, guys.
All right, Chief,
Thank you,
take care.
Thanks, Chief. Now we could talk about him.
All right. He was in the private chat. He must know how to use StreamYard. I didn't even know there was private chat here, but
He's pretty savvy.
he's pretty good.
savvy.
Okay.
He'll never admit to it, but he is. The last thing is just to let the public know that, it's, our needs are serious. We really, we're not asking for more than we need. It's not a want by any means. But I just, in the meantime, let the public and let everyone know that we do have backup. I mean, we have mutual aid that we rely on very often, and we provide mutual aid often to our surrounding communities, so that they should not fear that when they call 911 that it's going to be answered. And that's all. And we ask for their vote in the positive in November, and thank you very much.
All right. Well, thank you, Commissioner Parker. Thank you, Chief Leonard. And thank you to Chief Biggs for coming on here. If you see this and you have any questions, you can, of course, reach out to the city. I'm talking about viewers. You can also go back. This is part 2 of 2. We did another stream. You find it on valleyindy.org, where we talked to Brian Hall about how the city will manage this bonding, which I believe is November 4th. It goes to voters, $6.5 million. And that's all I have to say. So I want to thank you both for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Eugene.
Thanks.
All right.
Tom.
Have a great day.
All right. Bye-bye.